Empowering yourselves is more important than ever. August 11, 2014. No special technique is required to pick up on the energies and impressions of the higher realms, and there's no stern or rigid format you have to follow to pick up on us correctly. The best thing you can do is to find the methods that work for you and use them to find the purest connection you feel you can attain, for in trying to live up to the ideals of another in regards to how you should channel, you keep yourselves from finding the methods that work for you. Every seeker is different, and some methods won't resonate with some seekers as much as they do with others. What's important is that you use the method that helps you attain the greatest and purest higher vibrational connection you can, and once you do, you can use this connection to bless waves of other seekers who might not have found the empowerment that's missing from your society had they not discovered your flowing work. You each have the potential to uplift waves of seekers who could use such an upliftment, and all you have to do is embrace the roles you've come to the earth to play. Some of you have come to transmit the energies and impressions of the higher realms, while others have come to share their good vibration with humanity in myriad other ways. Conscious infiltration. There are writers, musicians, activists, politicians, who are using their political power for positive aims instead of negative and self-serving ones. The conscious public has started to infiltrate various areas of your society, and the cabal knows it. If they could, they'd seize the conscious public's attempts to spread knowledge of their misdeeds, as well as the spiritual truths of your existence, but as they're finding, the light is here to stay on your beautiful little planet, and the work of the conscious public will continue to increase as long as there's work to be done. In time, you'll find that far more seekers become active in using their light to help humanity become aware of spirit and lighten their vibration, and you'll see that you aren't the only ones who feel inspired to do everything you can to bring humanity out of the lower vibrations and into the love of the sacred heart space. As consciousness continues to rise, everyone around you will become motivated to contribute to the already strong revolution of love and harmony, and as this revolution grows in strength and influence, the rest of humanity will recognize its presence. Already, more souls are discovering that the work of the conscious public isn't going to stop, and in fact, it's going to strengthen with each day that passes. Slowly but surely, your mainstream will become more comfortable with the idea of general spirituality and everything that comes with it, but this likely won't happen until the conscious public passes through your social wringer of doubt and judgment. Some of the things you believe might be dragged through the mud by your society and your mainstream media before they're fully accepted, but with the extent to which spiritual knowledge is already permeating your mainstream culture, any bruises you suffer along the way will be short-lived. Of course, judgment or insult can only become bruises if you allow them to. If you're overprotective of your beliefs, which can point to a mind-centered attachment to them, then the things others say could sting. However, if you recognize that how you act is far more important than what you believe, you'll see that living in love regardless of whether or not others believe or empower the same things you do is the best way to go. You'll see that others don't have to believe in the same concepts you do to re-enter the fifth dimension. Like we've said before, all that's required is a loving, open heart and the willingness to serve the people around you unconditionally. Of course, your beliefs are what led many of you to root yourselves in such a lifestyle, and for this reason, they're relatively important. However, they aren't meant to be gripped so strongly that you feel the need to vehemently defend them if you're faced with naysayers. Eventually, every naysayer will find the belief or mindset that works for them, even if it's very different from the conscious public's, and use it to access the love of their heart. Regardless of the belief system that leads you back into the heart, it's essential for humanity to return to this sacred center, this sacred essence, and since your collective vibration is rising daily, we can envision all of humanity doing just that. Of course, some souls will choose not to become aware of spirit, and they might choose to incarnate on other lower dimensional worlds before they experience the next phase of their growth. You're given an option. Your growth into the higher vibrations can be as quick or as slow as you allow it to be, and your rate of progress depends entirely on the choices you make. You're always given the option to live for love or the ego, and many of you are sharpening your discernment in regards to which qualities you feed into as you go about your daily tasks and responsibilities. We wholeheartedly recommend asking yourselves if you're living for love or the fading ego with everything you think, say, and do, and you might notice that there are times when you could have fed into love but didn't. Realizing this is essential to mending the mistake the next chance you get, and you're given constant chances to choose love instead of greed and hatred. The road you take is your choice, and when you're comfortable enough to live in love without falling into darkness or self-service, your lives will seem to flow more strongly and gracefully than before. All that's required is the ability to exit the confines of the striving ego, and you'll find all of the freedom you've been waiting for on the other side if you make this simple yet complicated effort. Living for love and refusing to leave your center can be difficult, but as long as you recognize that you're in the company of various guides and angels who constantly seek to assist you, the love you're able to feel will naturally brim, and you'll have little trouble accessing it in the future. The only reason so many of you seem to have trouble in the first place is because, for the most part, you're still comfortable feeding the mechanisms that drive the old paradigm. When you let the ego influence you to such heights that you easily leave your center over matters that are small and unimportant, you lose sight of the purpose of your presence on the earth, to be a beacon of light for everyone around you to benefit from. There are astral forces who want to stop you from developing your light and shining it for the rest of humanity to feel, and these forces will flock to any seeker who dips into negativity. It's important to find and remain in a centered and uplifted space, and you'll recognize the presence of a lower entity by the fierce, negative emotions they seem to pierce you with. You can affirm that a barrier of lighted protected be placed over your physical and etheric bodies, and this will shield you from the influence of any lower entity or thought form who'd seek to take you out of your center. In this potent time of personal and planetary transformation, leaving your center is one of the least helpful things you can do for yourselves. Leaving your center in favor of the lower vibrations is akin to leaving heaven because the fires of hell seem warmer, and you hold yourselves and the rest of your planet back by blocking the flow of energy and information you can otherwise receive. Cutting yourselves off from the higher realms will reintroduce you to the same old drama-filled world so many of you are ready to transcend, and again, empowerment is missing from many of you who can't seem to shake the ego or the lower emotions that come with it. We note how ready many of you are to leave the low moments behind for good and see what the higher, more fulfilling moments have to offer, and you can do this as long as you put a few important things into practice that'll increase your reception of the divine flow and make it easier to find the positive, wholesome emotions you seek. Lighthearted exercise. We'll always recommend exercise, because it gets your body moving. It gets the blood flowing and increases your clarity of mind, and as a result, your ability to receive the flowing energies and impressions of the heart increases substantially. Those of you who channel will find that exercising before you make a connection is much better than simply sitting and meditating before connecting. We'll always recommend meditation, but we recommend exercise before any creative venture because, again, it provides unprecedented clarity of mind. We'll also recommend eating light, healthy foods that you know aren't genetically modified, processed, or filled to the brim with chemicals that aren't meant to be consumed. By this point, most of you know what is and isn't healthy for you, and those of you who are especially committed to the flow will benefit from eating foods that support your physical and spiritual development instead of inhibit them. Now that you've rediscovered the love you carry within, you're completely infinite in terms of what you can do and be. Now that you see that a lot needs done to transform your planet into the galactic civilization so many of you are ready to see, you can start doing the inner work that's required before your planet can experience a potent transformation. If you let yourselves, you can grow into the masters you've always been at your core, and to do this, you simply need to live in love and allow the resulting descent of your higher self to naturally take place. Higher facets of your consciousness are descending onto your minds and hearts, and you can welcome their influence in your sphere of perception. You can lovingly invite them to make themselves known, and when you realize that they exist and constantly sit within, You can communicate with them and receive assistance with myriad aspects of your ascension. The rest of humanity will eventually thank you for doing this, and they'll see that the work the conscious public has done for centuries was partially responsible for the widespread awakening that will have taken place. This awakening is happening at breakneck speed, and despite the slow and general manner in which your future seems to be manifesting, more people will awaken as the conscious public gets more active than you have so far, thus speeding up your ascension timetable and clearing the way for even more souls to become aware and contribute. Soon, every seeker will be more active than they've ever been, sharing their light and the abilities they've discovered with the rest of humanity, and as we've said before, we can envision a renaissance taking place that'll empower every soul to offer themselves to your evolution in monumental ways. We're very excited for the day when all of humanity works hard to bring your planet into the light, and we'll make our final expressions for this communication with encouragement for you to see that this day is starting to arrive. You're ushering in a new day of peace, prosperity, and motivation to change your planet, and you're encouraged to remember this when you don't feel like you've done enough. You've done more than we could hope to communicate, and realizing this will help motivate you to do even more, to excel even further than you've been able to so far. We are confident that you'll be able to soar when you realize just how capable you are of handling each and every divine task that's placed before you, and if you can express such a level of confidence in yourselves, your abilities will be limitless. Thank you to my higher self and spiritual guides. Channeled through Wes Anak. cultureofawareness.com